Hello and welcome back to the Tired Truths podcast. I'm going to be so honest and say that I literally just filmed for like 10 minutes and was like, literally none of that made sense. My brain fog is like really brain fogging today, and I feel like I don't have a lot of like deep thoughts. Well, I do, but they're just like not coming out right. And sometimes that happens, you know? I'm honestly just like really not feeling well either. I don't know what's happening. My heart rate has been like crazy, crazy high today, so then that's obviously like making me absolutely exhausted. My head is raging. My tummy hurts. I'm gonna hurl, and I'm just like so unbelievably exhausted. I think I already said that. And I don't know if it's because like, I just recently had the flu and like I laid in bed for like 2 weeks, so I don't know if it's like I really just got like deconditioned that fast, but like I'm trying. And it's just like not going well, but it's fine. We're here and we're gonna yap, okay? Maybe that'll make me feel better. Um, I do have to update you all and say that I did see my doctor yesterday, and she basically kind of like confirmed that I have like a fistula in my spine, which is awesome. It's like not frightening at all, you know? So there is like CSF fluid leaking into my bloodstream, which again is slightly concerning. And even more concerning is I don't think there's a single doctor in my state that's going to work with me, which is awesome. Because like I have EDS and stuff, like fixing a fistula is like more difficult. And so I'm literally probably gonna have to like fly to California or like Mississippi to like go get surgery. It's just like I don't want to do that. That's frightening. There's just like so much that happens with the chronic illness. I'm just like sometimes I'm just like over it, you know? I'm like I just want a break, you know? But I don't get one. And that's okay, but I'm also like low key a little frustrated because I did see my doctor, and like I feel like every patient, like we go into doctor's offices like very prepared, we are well researched, we know what questions we're going to ask, because it's like we've been waiting months for this, and so that happened to me today. I'm not today, whenever the heck that was. And I showed up and was like, hey girl. And she like hadn't even looked at my scans. Like she had needed to talk to another doctor about my scans because like I'm so complicated. And like she hadn't talked to the doctor. And it's just like, okay, I've been waiting forever for this, and now I have to wait even longer because you weren't prepared, It's like, why can't doctors be prepared? Like, I know you're busy. Okay, I get it. But it's also like, I don't know. I feel like that's something that you're signing up for as a doctor, and that like I don't know, that needs to be in their training or something, to be like how to manage our time better, because we are horrible at it. And like it's kind of embarrassing when they like show up and they like obviously are like not prepared, and they're like looking up who you are and like what your symptoms are, and it's like, really, like you couldn't have taken 10 minutes before like I got here to look at the scans, like make me sit in the waiting room for a little bit. It's fine, whatever. Especially because like the place I'm going to, like it's not like a normal like insurance type thing. Like she's doing like this thing where it's like I pay her a bajillion dollars and then I get like unlimited access to her. And it's like, okay, I'm paying you so much money for you not to be prepared, And this was only it's only one time that she's done this, but it's just like, it's frustrating, especially when you're talking about like a fistula, and like when you're talking about like spinal fluid leaking into your bloodstream. It's like, I don't know, that's a little concerning. And it's like, you don't seem as concerned as I am, you know? So maybe I shouldn't be concerned, but anyways, I'm just very lucky that like I know that she's like believing me, because like that happens a lot, and it's like, I don't know, like I'm grateful that I have found a doctor who's lovely and listens to me and understands what my conditions are, but it's like, can we be a little more prepared, So, we'll see. I honestly have no idea what's gonna happen in like the future with surgery and things, and that's like very frightening, especially because like I am such a planner. Like I hate when I don't know what's happening, and I just hate it. And living with a chronic illness, you get that every single freaking day. Like I never know how I'm going to wake up every day. And it's like even today, like I had so many things I was going to do today, and I woke up and was like, nope, I actually can't do any of these things, That's just like, as a planner, as like a very type A person, that's like hard for me, But I don't know, that's just me being like picky and stupid. Anyways, again, I am just like grateful that I have found a doctor who believes me, because there are so many out there who don't. And especially, I don't know, I'm gonna get really like feministy here, but like we definitely live in like a patriarchal society, right? And there are all these conditions that you could kind of like categorize as like women's conditions, like POTS and like endometriosis and things like that like primarily affect women. Like obviously men can get POTS and men do get POTS, but like there's a disproportionate amount of women who get POTS compared to men. So I'm categorizing those as like women's conditions. I hope you're with me here. And it's like women's conditions are under researched, underfunded, and not believed. And it's like, what do we mean? What do you mean here? Like if I was a man and I was experiencing POTS for the first time, I know, like I would bet my whole life, my whole money, everything that I would go to a doctor and I would get a diagnosis and treatment 10 times faster than if I was a woman. The 10 times just came out of nowhere. Like I just made that up, but you know what I mean? That's like, because I'm a woman, I'm simply not believed. I show up to a doctor and they say, well, maybe you're pregnant. Let's put you on birth control. You're hormonal, you're crazy, or there's actually nothing wrong with you. And like, everybody has these symptoms, which is simply not true. And quite frankly, I think it's disgusting that like that's the society we live in, and how like I have to approach things and know that that's what's going to happen when I enter a medical facility. But I also think it's like really important to just be aware of that, because you kind of know what you're getting into. Like I know when I go to a doctor, and I know even more if it's a male doctor. Like I know they have like these like perceived concept that's the wrong word, but like I already know what is the word. I literally hate my brain sometimes. Like they already have a preconceived notion. That's the word. I got it. They already have like a preconceived notion of like my symptoms, who I am. Like they've already diagnosed me before I've even walked in the room, and they've never even met me. And simply because of my gender. And like obviously that's not every doctor, like that's not what happens every single time, but it's like I fear if you ask like every woman who is chronically ill, we will all have like very similar experiences, and that means it's not just me. So like literally like the pain of like not being believed is like so real and so unbelievably frustrating. Like medical trauma is so real and so valid. Like there's not a single person with a chronic illness who does not have some sort of medical trauma. And I know I'm making like very large like opinions here. Everyone who's been chronically ill, maybe I shouldn't say everyone, but like the majority of people who are chronically ill, you have had some type of medical trauma, okay? You've walked into a doctor at least once and somebody has told you you're crazy. Especially if you're a woman. I don't know how many doctors, when I was trying to get diagnosed with POTS, simply said POTS isn't real, your symptoms aren't real, everybody has some type of orthostatic intolerance. Like, it happens to literally everybody. And again, maybe I shouldn't say literally everybody, but it's like, it's so unbelievably common, and it's so, so, so frustrating. And like, honestly, like, I don't really know how to fix that, because it's such like a societal bigger issue that it's like, this isn't going to be solved by like one simple training for doctors, because it's also like this like internalized stigma that we have for women. And it makes living with a chronic illness harder. It makes getting treatment harder. Like being chronically ill is hard enough, and the fact that we have to have like this extra barrier of getting treatment and help is so unbelievably disgusting. Like the medical field is supposed to be the people that are like helping us, and there's so many times that they are like hindering our progress. And I know that's never going to go away. I absolutely dread going to urgent cares. Like I avoid it as much as possible if I can, because I don't know how many times I've walked into an urgent care and they're like, nothing's wrong with you, or like okay, for an example, like I had the flu, right? I've had the flu before. I've walked in sometimes and said, hey, I'm immunodeficient. And they say, no, you're not. And then I have to say, actually, I'm on immunoglobulin replacement therapy. Like, I have selective immunodeficiency. Like, I am literally immunodeficient, you know? And then they're like, okay. And I'm like, okay, I would really love some fluids and I would really love some like Tamiflu, you know, to get me over this flu so I don't end up in the hospital, you know? And I've had doctors say, you don't need that. I don't give out Tamiflu. It doesn't do much. When I'm like, I literally just told you I'm immunodeficient. Like, I actually really want this. And actually, fluids actually really help me because actually I have POTS. You know, and they say POTS isn't real, or they say we don't have time to give you fluids, stuff like that. And it's like, when you are already sick, like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that crap. I just simply don't have the time. I don't have the patience. And it's just like, oh my God, it's so frustrating, you know? And I think I've honestly gotten to a point, I've been doing this crap for 6 years, you know? And honestly, 6 years is not that long compared to a lot of people. It's like my tolerance for incompetent doctors has really gone down. I really think, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I really think you should be able to express your opinions in a doctor's office. I think you should be able to tell doctors when they are wrong. And I think, quite frankly, you should be allowed to be a wee bit rude every once in a while when they are literally calling you wackadoodle crazy, you know? So I urge you to advocate for yourself. And if you have to get a little snippy, that's okay, you know? And at the end of the day, if a doctor is not listening to you, you can say, peace out, I'm gone, walk out of that office, schedule a new appointment with a different doctor before you've even left, and then you leave them a horrible review so other people do not continue to go to that doctor. You know, I just think we should bring back public shaming. I can't say that. I think we should bring back accountability. That's a better word, you know? Just because someone is a doctor, it doesn't mean they're actually good at what they do. Sorry, who said that? Who said that? We have like a tendency to just say, okay, this is a doctor, we're going to believe what they say. And when you're in the chronic illness world, you can't do that. A doctor will say, you're wackadoodle, you're crazy. Then you go find a different doctor and they'll say, actually, there's something wrong with you. And they will listen to you and they will give you treatment. And it doesn't matter how many wackadoodle doctors you go to. Where did I come up with wackadoodle? Like, I don't think I've ever said that in my life. You have to continue to go to a new doctor and a new doctor and a new doctor if somebody keeps calling you wacko. You know, I shouldn't be saying wacko. I feel like that's not like a politically correct thing to say. But anyways, I guess the moral of the story is like, you really need to advocate for yourself. I'm gonna throw up. Hold on. Okay, I'm okay. The other thing, my doctor said that caffeine can like raise the amount of CSF fluid you have, and so I'm dabbling in caffeine, which I have not done for 6 years because it makes me feel like crap because of my POTS. And so she wanted to put me on like a stimulant, and I said, hey girl, I really don't want to be on like Adderall right now. And so we were like, let's try caffeine first and see if that works. And so like, this is the first time I'm drinking actual coffee, which is like crazy. But I did just buy like caffeine pills that I'm going to like split into just like 50 milligram tablets that I'm going to be trying that for a little bit instead of like regular coffee. Cause I know I just feel like the medication is like a more consistent route. So anyways, I'll keep you updated with that. I said this before, but I'm like, there's just like this overt pain of not being believed. And it is really hard to consistently deal with when that's something that's happening over and over and over again. Doctors who dismiss your symptoms really affects your like mental health and low-key like your physical health because your symptoms keep progressing. But I think we get to a point where it's like when so many doctors gaslight you, you start to believe it. And I know that's happened to me. I know when I was like going through all my mal symptoms, when I was in excruciating pain every single time I would eat, that I had seen so many doctors and I had gotten to a point where everybody was saying nothing's wrong with you, that I honestly started to believe it. I was like, this is all in my head, like there's nothing wrong with me because all the tests were coming back normal. It's hard to continue to be like, there's something wrong when everyone's telling you there's not. And even like, because I'm on social media, I've had so many people reach out to me who like are getting mouth surgery or who are considering doing it, or even not even mouths, just like other conditions, that like they start to get to a point where, in the same sense, like they're starting to believe what these doctors are telling them because everything's coming back normal. And I just think that's really important to point out, that like when so many people tell you that things are normal, it's so hard to continue to fight for yourself and say, no, something's wrong, something's wrong. And I think I have to address that, because I'm like, yeah, you need to advocate for yourself and you need to find a doctor who believes you. But like, that's hard to freaking do. And it's okay to say that's hard, and it's okay to be upset about it. But I've said this so many times on this podcast, but it's like, you know your body best. And the normal amount of pain is no pain. And so if you are experiencing pain every single day of your life, something is not right. And your symptoms are real. And you need to continue to believe in yourself and advocate for yourself. And honestly, that's so hard to do. There are so many times, like throughout my Mal's diagnostic process, that I flat out was like telling my mom, like, I think I'm crazy. I think there's nothing wrong with me. And especially when you go to a doctor's and they're like, let's try like CBT therapy. Is that right? Cognitive CBT? Cognitive behavioral therapy? You know, like, let's try that. Or maybe you just need a massage. Or, you know, let's put you on antidepressants. Like, that's such a common theme that like doctors do, that it's hard to keep being like, no, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. So I don't know. I just think it's important to share that like I know other people are going through similar things, and other people are also thinking to themselves that there's nothing wrong with them. That it's like, you're not alone in this, and it's okay to be frustrated. And it'd be weird if you weren't, honestly. It would be really odd if you were going through some type of chronic pain and you're like, I'm super happy about this, you know. Do you live with a chronic illness and want to connect with people who truly get it? Check out Chronically Connected, an app created just for people with chronic conditions. Think of it as a giant group chat where everyone understands what you're going through. It's a safe space to ask questions and share experiences and build connections with people who truly get life with a chronic illness. It's simple. Click the link in the description to join. Just make sure you have a profile picture so we know you're real. I'll see you there. And I think even more, like, I know when you're surrounded by like family and friends, a lot of times they can start dismissing your symptoms. I know that happened in my family, that like, again, with like my mouth stuff I would eat, and somebody would be like, are you really in that much pain? Or they'd be like, you ate that and you didn't seem like you were in pain, so there's nothing wrong with you, right? And I think most times like they're trying to be supportive, but it just really comes off as like ableist and terrible. I really have a hard time with like able-bodied people talking to me about being chronically ill, because so many times they say things and I'm like, why did you say that, you know? And I understand it's like most of the time they're coming from a good place. Like, they don't understand what your life is. They don't understand what you're going through. But I don't know how many times, like, people, like, you'll say something about your chronic condition, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, well, I got my wisdom teeth out once, and it was horrible. You know? It's like, I think they're trying to, like, relate to you and, like, compare things, but it's like, just don't, you know? And I never usually like will say anything, because I'm like, I know you were coming from a good place, but I think that's even harder when you're trying to like express your feelings and express the pain you're going through, and then they kind of like dismiss it by saying like they've gone through similar things, when it's like, no, you have not even remotely, you know? Like someone being like, oh yeah, I've had stomach issues too. It's like, no, 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 zip it, you know? But again, like, it's hard. I don't know. I think that's something that like I still like don't really know how to address, because it's like, I understand you're trying to be kind, but like, one, like, I want to tell you that's like not something you should say to somebody who's chronically ill, because like I don't like when people like continue to share these like ableist views. I'm really like a proponent of like saying, being honest, you know, and being like, girl, you can't say that. But at the same time, like, I understand you're trying to be kind, you're trying to be like empathetic and stuff, and it's just like not coming off the way you think it's coming off. And like sometimes I do think that like I'm being like sensitive about it, but I also think it's like that's my prerogative and I think I get to be, like if I want to be pissed off about it, I can be pissed off about it, like again, you're not living in my life, and you saying you've gone through similar things or you suggesting treatment for me, makes me so mad. Makes me so mad. So, anyways, I just think like my overall theme is like there's such an emotional toll when you are not being believed. And it's absolutely exhausting and so hard to deal with. And I think one of the hardest parts is like you can't talk to anybody about this unless you have other chronically ill friends. Like you can't confide in like an able-bodied person because they simply will not understand, and you'll probably be dismissed even more, or it's like you're just like not getting what you want out of it, so many times like when I am talking to somebody about being chronically ill, like I just want to vent, like I just want to express my feelings. I deal with so much on a daily basis that you like keep inside, and sometimes like you just want to talk to somebody about it. And it's increasingly hard when like you talk to somebody about it and they like flip it and try and like solve the problem. I also think that's just like a man thing. Like men really want to like solve problems, and it's just like, no, like I just wanted you to listen to me. I just wanted you to say I'm so sorry that's what you're going through and give me a hug. It's like that's all I wanted from you. And most of the time that doesn't happen. And again, this idea of like when you're not being believed for so long, you low-key like give up on yourself and you give up on like treatment, and like finding a solution. Like I know I have, and I know a lot of friends that I have been like, this is just what I'm gonna do with my life, and that's okay. And I think it's so important to like not come to that point. I've seen people who have like kind of given up on their health, and it's really hard to see, but at the same time like I understand it, because it is so taxing mentally, that it's like at some points you're like, I'm done. I don't want to keep showing up to a doctor and have them tell me that there's nothing wrong with me, But I just think that's something that we can't accept. There is a doctor out there who will take the time and investigate what is wrong with you and at least listen to you and have some type of solution, or at least try some treatment, things like that. That it's like there's so much out there, we just have to find it, And even more kind of like on the flip side, there is definitely 1,000,000% like a medical shortage of quality doctors. We know that there are so few specialty doctors who understand like POTS and EDS and like MALS and all of these things, that it's like I understand, I 1,000,000% understand the frustration. But I think the more we advocate for ourselves and the more we educate doctors, that the more they are willing to learn. When I see a doctor and they don't understand what my conditions are, I really try and like educate them on that, or you say, hey, like now you should look into this, things like that. That it's like some doctors are okay with having patients that they don't really like know about. I've had plenty of primary care doctors who before me have never seen anybody with POTS and stuff, but they were willing to learn. And so I think we need to find more doctors who are willing to learn and who are willing to do research and who are willing to just like work with you as a patient. I just like really urge you to keep advocating for yourself, because I know there's somebody out there, and I know that's hard to do when you're in like such a dark time, but honestly it's like that's our only option. Especially like in the US, well, like it's literally everywhere. Like I can't diagnose myself. I can't give myself prescriptions. Like, it's like I have to rely on this external force of like the medical system to like provide me with treatment, that it's like at some point, like I got to work with it, like as much as I hate it, as much as I would like to avoid doctors, girl, I have a doctor appointment like once a week, at the least. Like I can't avoid it. And so It's like at some point, it's like I just have to accept it and be like, this is the medical system I'm in. This is how I'm going to work with it, you know? And again, fighting for yourself and fighting for your symptoms, you know? It's okay to go tell a doctor, hey, I've done some research and this is what I think is happening. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, well, you shouldn't Google things. I think you absolutely should. Now, I don't mean to go on Wikipedia and look up your symptoms, but you absolutely should do your own research, especially when you have been diagnosed with conditions, to see what kind of credible evidence-based research is out there, and seeing what other patients are doing for treatment, I think is an amazing way to improve your doctor's knowledge and your knowledge. I think the best thing I have found being chronically ill is like I know so much about my conditions because then when I go to a doctor and they are saying things, like they're not talking over my head, or I can suggest things that they may not have heard of, you know? But like you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt because there are so many doctors who like won't like accept that they don't know everything, you know. I don't know how many times I've like gone to a doctor and be like, yeah, I have POTS. This was like back in like 2020 when like it wasn't really a thing yet, that like there wasn't that much like awareness around it. Like I'd be like, yeah, I have POTS, and they're like, uh-huh, okay. And then you can see them like pulling up Google and they're like looking up what POTS is, you know. Or you'll say like, I have EDS, and they're like you have what, you know. It's like so many doctors aren't okay with not knowing everything. And I think that's something we really need to change. Like, as a doctor, I don't expect you to know everything, especially because, like, I know I have some, like, rare, complicated conditions. Like, I know I'm a complex patient. I know you don't see stuff like this every day. I just want you as a doctor to be willing to learn about it and to be okay with, like, saying you don't know everything, you know? I respect a doctor so much more when they say, hey, I've never heard of that. What is that? Instead of being like, oh, okay, and just like blindly going through the appointment, not knowing what's wrong with me, you know? And I don't know, I think, and I don't know why that is. Like, I don't know why doctors like are afraid to say they don't know. I don't know if it's like it makes them look less competent, but it's like for me, it makes you look even more competent if you say, hey, what is that? Educate me on it, you know? So I guess what I'm saying, like find a doctor who's willing to say, I don't know, but who's willing to do research on it, who's willing to listen to you and say, what are your symptoms? You know, like how did you get diagnosed with this? What is your treatment? Stuff like that. Curious doctors, like that's what I want. Like I don't want entitled doctors. I want somebody who's willing to learn. I posted something on TikTok a while ago talking about like how I had to like basically diagnose my own self with like a CSF leak. And when I say that post almost has 200,000 views and everybody in the comments is saying, oh my gosh, me too. Oh my gosh, me too. It's like, yeah, it's because you're a woman. Yeah, it's because, you know, like all of these things. It's like, it's insane that like the vast majority of people are going through the same thing, you know? And I think that's like my big thing of like why I'm even doing this podcast, because it can feel so incredibly isolating when you're chronically ill. Especially because like, I don't know, like now, I mean, like most of my friends are chronically ill, but it's like, I feel like when you're first being diagnosed and just like looking out into the world, like you're just going through life, like nobody understands me, nobody knows what I'm going through. And like, I feel like you continue to isolate yourself. I know I do that because I'm like, I don't want you to have to deal with what the hell I'm going through, you know? But like, the more I talk about it and the more I talk about my experience, I found that like other people are going through the same thing, and then it helps them with their experience, you know? I think I say this every episode, but continue to advocate for yourself. Living with a chronic condition is incredibly difficult, especially when it's invisible chronic condition, which I guess most chronic conditions are, but I think being invisibly ill is like increasingly more complicated, especially for able-bodied people to understand, because they're like, what do you mean? You have makeup on, you did your hair, you look fine, when you're like, actually, my heart is beating at 150 beats per minute right now, and I'm just sitting here, and I have a migraine, and I can't see out of my left eye, you know? and I'm unable to swallow because I have a CSF leak, and my brain is sitting on my skull. That it's just like, I don't know, healthy people just can't understand it. I'm really like doxing on healthy people today, and I like really don't mean to be. I guess what I'm trying to say is like being chronically ill is incredibly hard and incredibly isolating and incredibly frustrating, and it's okay to be frustrated. Again, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. I am giving you love, I'm giving you hope, I'm giving you hopefully some strength. You are so much stronger than you can imagine, and continue to advocate for yourself, to fight for your health. I love the quote of "you can do hard things," and I literally think of that at least once a day. Like, I will close my eyes and like take a deep breath and be like, you know what, you can do hard things, like you can do it. And I think about all of the horrible, horrendous things that I have gone through in my life, that I have gotten through, that in that stage I said, I can't do this, I'm never going to be able to do this, and then you get through it. That it's like, if you can get through that, you can get through anything. Just like thinking of all of like the treacherous, horrid things you know what I'm saying? Like, you can do hard things. And like, yeah, I don't want to do hard things. And like, yeah, I'd love my life to be nice and simple, and I'd love if my body worked. But this is the situation I'm in, and I'm an absolute baddie, and I'm gonna freaking deal with it every day. That's like my mentality, that it's like, I can do hard things, I'm gonna freaking push through this, and push through it meaning like I'm gonna get out of bed and like brush my hair today, like we're not doing anything crazy. But it's just so easy to like spiral and let your mental get worse and everything, that it's like, I don't know, I just think I have to have something to hold on to be like, I can do it. So, I guess the moral of this episode is you can do hard things, okay? I'm gonna say it again. You can do hard things, okay? I honestly have no idea what in the hell I talked about. I don't know how long I've been talking. My brain is not working at all, and I have so much homework to do, so we're gonna see what happens with that. But thank you for listening to another episode of the Tired Truths podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Love ya.